is, of course, fallacious. It's absurd. Virtually all the layers of the Grand Canyon, from bottom to top, are sedimentary layers. Your argument is baseless.
The creationists' deliberate misrepresentation of the extant dota's argument is baseless, not the actual argument itself.
It's based on, first of all, an assumption that all of the samples must be taken from the same layer.
If you take samples from different layers, you will get different ages. The creationist seems unable to grasp this.
Which is the fallacy of evolutionists involving isometric dating and radiometric dating.
Once again, that's isochron dating, not isometric.
Secondly, it's also based on an assumption that the scientist must choose the kind of rock that you select, that you prefer, which is lava.
No, actually it's not. And we're not going to rewatch the clip for a third time. If you really need it explaining, just rewind to that clip again.
The scientist can date any rock he chooses. Your argument is based strictly upon a desire to attempt to discredit the information, and this is because it upsets your worldview.
Science does not have a worldview. Creationists like to pretend it does.
Furthermore, you might like to know that non-cogenetic samples are often used to obtain a date for a median sample.
As long as a scientist explains this when conducting the experiment, then this is all well and good. It's when creationists do this without declaring it in order to try and fool gullible people like NephilimFree that this becomes frowned upon by real scientists.
Of course, you didn't mention that, did you?
Getting two samples from multiple layers to work out a median is far different from getting non-cogenetic samples from completely different areas of the canyon, and then trying to claim that because these dates are different, radiometric dating must be flawed. Once again, if you misuse a tool or fail to understand its limitations, it will give incorrect results.
Now this could be because of either one, you didn't know of this, or two, you don't want the viewer of your video to know this.
Or three, it is not relevant to the point that the extant dotas were making.
But a very short period of time.
Now, if you excavated your limestone boot nestled betwixt a hoard of fossils radiometrically dated to the Cambrian era, you could conceivably falsify the geologic timescale theory. However, if your boot was sitting in ordinary hard water, known as hard because it contains calcium carbonate, also known as limestone, in some field somewhere, then what you have is a neat boot. That there, my friend, is a neat boot.
Yes, it's a neat boot. But you completely tried to skirt the issue, didn't you?
No, not at all. Let's see how this creationist tries to distort this pathetic claim now.
Which is, of course, to show that fossilization does not require thousands of years.
Mineralization does not require that much time, no. However, actual fossilization does require that amount of time.
Or millions of years, which has been a long-held evolutionist fallacy. But the real point Mr. Pendleton was trying to make, which either went over your head or you tried to skirt, is that since fossilization requires something to be buried rapidly, and thus sealed off from oxygen and predators, etc., then the massive amount of fossils which are in the earth, from bottom to top in the crust, is evidence of a massive global flood.
And once again we come back to this insanity. Tell us something, Mr. 2 years of research. Since neither the geologic layers nor the fossils contained within them are sorted by density nor jumbled haphazardly, how do you explain this away? The cowboy boot is not a fossil.
Which, of course, is why there are so many living fossils in the world. Thousands of them.
Living fossils? Is this like that UFOs exist and come from Satan claim of the creationist?
Animals not changed whatsoever in supposedly millions and millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of years.
Wow. That's even more pathetic.
Unchanged from virtually every phylum of living thing.
That's a lie. Also, these pictures do not constitute scientific evidence for the creationist claims about the fossil record.
Oh, the Earth is so old, isn't it? But it's a free world. You're welcome to believe that lie if you like.
Just as the creationist is welcome to believe that this is a lie if he likes. The reality of the situation is that the global flood didn't happen. The Earth is far older than the creationist will ever admit, and that evolution and natural selection is responsible for the vast biodiversity of life on this planet. It's when creationists try to get their bullshit taught in schools as if it were science that those of us who are sane get upset, because that's when the fanatics are encroaching on our right to provide a decent level of education to our future generations.
What you're not welcome to do is spread lies.
Which is what I stated just now about these fanatics getting their creation science taught in schools. And it is creationism which is a lie, not evolution.
And try to convince other people that the Earth is billions of years old.
That's what the evidence is for.
Fossilized hat in just a few years, not millions of years.
Maybe this guy left it there? Oh, come on, we already did the nice hat joke. The repetition of this red herring is boring us. We've edited out the petrified ham. That was just embarrassing for him.
Yes, indeed, a fossilized ham. Lots of things. Of course, this proves that it doesn't take millions of years or even tens of thousands of years for things to fossilize.
Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything of the sort. A petrified ham is not a fossil. A mineralized hat is not a fossil. I bet if the ham was tested, there would still be carbon in it, precluding it from being a fossil, since all fossils are mineralized bones that have had all of their carbon removed into the surrounding environment.
Like evolutionists believe, you see. Rapid burial, isolation from oxygen and other environmental factors and scavengers, you see. It's always a red herring when it goes against what evolutionists believe, right?
No, it's a red herring when it goes completely off the subject at hand. John Pendleton is supposed to be discussing fossils, not petrified hams, mineralized hats, boots, or other recently buried items that have accelerated mineralization due to such environmental factors as limestone deposits. This creationist's appeal to ridicule is rejected.
So long as you believe in your fantasies, you're safe, right? Get into that safe house, quick! Hurry!
The creationist is completely childish.
Fossilized pliers in very short period of time, not millions of years.
Notice even his source has fossil in quotes. Oh, and nice pliers. This is just getting repetitive.
Oh dear.
Oh dear indeed.
The quotations were because the pliers themselves didn't fossilize. Stone formed around them.
Which demonstrates the point. The pliers are not fossilized. They are therefore not considered a fossil. Which demonstrates the excellent Dodo's point that this entire line of non-reasoning is a red herring.
Proving it doesn't take millions of years for stone to form, which evolutionists seem to think.
Evolutionists don't think anything of the sort. Sane people understand that mineralization can happen very quickly, but that is not the point. The point is that fossilization is an entirely different process from mineralization, and that the fossil record is structured in such a way that no matter how long it took these fossils to form and lose all of their carbon, the timescale is still correct because of other corroborating evidence that this creationist has tried and failed to discredit.
Why do evolutionists expect creationists to do all their homework?
Sane people expect nothing of the sort. Sane people expect creationists to misrepresent the hard work of all the real scientists that have gone on before. This is borne out not only in Pendleton's original video, but in NephilimFree's pathetic response here. The ad hominem slide has been cut.
Are able to do it in a matter of months.
Synthetic opals may be distinguished from natural opals by the regularity of the crystal pattern, the lack of fluorescence under UV light, the lack of density and porosity, the fact that the imitations contain substances not found in opal, like plastic stabilizers, and his natural processes involve a chemist and a fairly complicated synthetic pathway. We can also make diamonds quicker than nature. We kick nature's butt. What this has to do with how long it takes natural formation to occur is beyond us.
Let me help you understand what you put your own blind faith into, since you don't do your own homework.
Creationist hubris and arrogance always ceases to amaze me.
Circular reasoning.
The creationist has just moved off of the subject of accelerated synthesis to make a claim about circular reasoning. Ignoring a red herring for a moment, here is an example of circular reasoning. Why should we trust the Bible? It's the inspired word of God. How do we know it's the inspired word of God? God tells us these things. How do we know God is real? Because it says so in the Bible. How do we know we should trust the Bible? Because it's the inspired word of God.
Is at the basis for a great deal of evolutionist philosophy.
Those of us who understand real science knows that this creationist claim is without foundation.
But then so is an utter lack of scientific evidence, and a lot of hegemony as well.
This is the common form of projection employed by creationists who seek to divert away from the fact that they provide no evidence for their own bullshit, but instead attack real science in the hopes that nobody sane will notice.
In fact, evolutionism, that's right.
Evolutionism, that's wrong. Evolutionism is a term invented by creationists who seek to make it appear like a belief system when it is nothing of the sort. Such is the dishonest nature of creationists.